All right. So, we are in Megillat Ruth, in chapter Gimel, Perek Gimel, Pasuk Tet, verse 9. And we are in the midst of a very interesting encounter. Boaz, an 80-year-old leader of the Jews, finished the season of harvesting, and he was finishing it in his barn after they accumulated all the he and his boys accumulated all the grain. He stayed there to guard it overnight before they take it into the city, to the market, or to storage. It was he was afraid of theft. That's why he was there, and so he was out there in the barn alone. He had a very good meal, and thank God for a wonderful season. First after 10 years, he was ready to. He was lying down to go to sleep, and actually he did go to sleep, and woke up midnight to find someone at his feet, lying down, and seems like he I guess he smelled that she was very perfumed and cleaned, and smelled like a woman. And it was pitch dark. It was in the middle, they didn't have any flashlights in those days, and fire in a barn full of grain is hazardous. So it was pitch black in the middle of the night, and because it was in a barn, there was no moonlight either. And she ended up revealing herself there at his feet, and he got terribly scared.
Do we know from the text that was inside a barn?
I think so, from somewhere, yeah. Vateret Agoren, yeah, maybe not. Vateret Agoren. Agoren usually is a closed. Typically would be a closed area, but maybe not. I somehow remember it's a barn. I don't know where I saw it, if I saw it. So that's where we are at now. Perek Gimel, Pasuk Tet, and so he woke up in the middle of the night, and v'hinei isha shochevet margelotav, and a woman is lying down at his feet. Vayomer, so he right away asks, Miyat, who are you? Who you are? What are you doing here? What's your intention? Who you are? Are you? Who you? I mean, many questions are folded into this Miyat. Are you married? Are you not married? Are you coming for what purpose? You coming for some indecent purpose, or something, or you have something specific you want? What's going on here? Who are you?
Why couldn't it be just a simple question? Who are you? Literally,
it might have been just who are you, but but what's the agenda? He meant to say, when you walk into your home, and God forbid you see someone there, you ask, who are you? But you have a lot of other unanswered questions, folded into that. Vatomer anochi Ruth amatecha. I am, she answered, I am Ruth, your maid. Ufarasta knafecha al amatcha ki goelata. So I'm your maid, Ruth. And she's asking, I actually am not coming for any indecent reason. I'm not coming to try to have all kinds of events that should not happen between an unmarried man and a woman.
Seduce.
Yeah, seduce. Yeah, I'm not trying to do that. I'm coming here with one purpose in mind. I want to marry you. I want you to marry me, rather.
Why did she say I'm your maid? She's not
we will get there. We'll get there. This is a lot. We'll get there. So I want you to spread your wing over me. And spreading the wing is an idiom that was taken from the animal kingdom, where birds who are mating are covering each other with their wings, basically for tzniut, for modesty. So spread your wing over me, because you are a redeemer. Now, just a couple of the truth is that in this pasuk we have an entire halachic discussion that is very intense, that is very detailed, and spreads over a lot of different halachot to figure out what's going on here. So, just as a beginning, the phrase "ufarasta knafecha," that you should spread your wing over me, this is the root of this is the source of the custom that in some communities, the bride and the groom under the chuppah covering themselves with talis, because talis is meaning covering in a way that will hide us from onlookers. And so it's not the chuppah itself, it's actually an additional covering of a talis. Now, what's going on here? What was the justification for her to ask him to marry her? What's going on here? That's so. Some are saying that it's the mitzvah of yibum, right? That's the common understanding of what's going on in Megillat Ruth is because of yibum. What is yibum? Yibum is if two brothers are married, and one of them is married, and the married one passed away without having children, so the wife, the widow, should not go out to marry a strange person outside the family. The remaining, a surviving brother, has the responsibility to marry her and to have kids. And as we learned last time, the kids that they're going to have, the first child that they're going to have, will have a spark or the soul of the deceased. So in order to keep the deceased around, this is what the kids are doing to us, right? We have part of us in our children. So when we're no longer here, we are here via our children. So this dude did not have a child. So he will go into, his soul is going to go into the soul of the first child that born to his wife and his brother.
Who's next in line if there is no...
Oh, beautiful. Next in line, if there is no brother, is no one. Mitzvat Yibum is only in brothers. So Mitzvat Yibum is not like inheritance, that if the brother is not there or the son is not there, you go to the next closer relative.
And if the brother is married...
And if the brother is married, he should marry a second, according to Torah, you can marry multiple wives. So if the brother is married, he should marry a second wife. If there are multiple brothers, the older one has the first crack at it, so to speak, the first obligation, and it goes down the line if there are several brothers. And we're going to get into a lot of those details and a lot of those halachot, but the problem is that, and let's talk a little bit about the genealogy here, the relationship. Boaz was definitely not the brother of her husband, of her deceased husband, right? Mm-hmm. Who was Boaz?
Of Naomi.
But so there were three brothers, okay? There were four brothers. Shalmon, I think, Shalmon, and Elimelech, and Tov, and another guy that we don't know his name, Ploni Almoni. Shalmon is the father of Boaz. Tov is the father of Naomi. Those two guys died. Elimelech married his niece, Naomi. Elimelech is one of the brothers. He also died. He had two children before he died, Machlon and Chilion, right? So Naomi is the cousin of Machlon and Chilion, but also their mother, and Boaz is a cousin to all of them, right? Now, Ruth was married to Machlon, and and she also, there is the opinion that she first was married to Kilion, was first married to the other brother, and he died first, and Machlon took her as Yevama, as Yibum, first time Yibum. So she was married to one guy. The other guy married her.
There's another wife mentioned.
Orpah, Orpah, yes, of course. There was another wife there in the mix as well. But the thing is that the brother is not allowed to marry both of them. He has to marry only one of them. He can marry one of them and has to do chalitza to the other one. I guess it's Hilchot Yibum, which is not for right now. But here we have a situation where he is not the brother. So how can she ask him for Yibum? Impossible that she ask him for Yibum.
Go back to Yehuda and Tamar.
Yehuda and Tamar.
I mean, she arranged to...
True, but not over there was also not Yibum. The Yibum was between the brothers in the situation of Yehuda. Yehuda did not, yeah.
I mean, he did not allow it.
Yeah, he did not allow it. Yeah. Now, there is another problem why it cannot be Yibum, because she was a convert. And a convert loses all of the relationship, the family relationship from before the conversion. Right? A ger shenitgayer kekatan shenolad. If there is a convert who made a conversion, they're considered a newborn baby. So the relationship
what if her husband were still there? Is she converted? She's still married, isn't she?
No, then she has to marry again. The marriage of the goyish marriage is not holy. Does not valid. So, and that's what happens when you have couples that are converting together. Or one of them is converting to Judaism. They have to go through marriage again. And anyway, but the bottom line is that, and it actually happened in this shul once, not long ago. The bottom line is that there was no reasonable justification to do Yibum here. So what was she asking for? So one of the clues is that she started asking, she kept saying that I'm your mate, I'm Matecha. So there is a din of Ama Ivriya, a Hebrew, Jewish mate. What is the din of Ama Ivriya? There is a din, there is an arrangement for a Jewish slave, we know. If someone has a debt and they cannot pay the debt, or somebody stole and they don't have money to return the theft, Beis Din can sell the person in order to pay the debt. Or a person can sell themselves in order to pay the debt. With a woman, it's not like that. A woman cannot sell herself, and based in a Jewish court, never sells a woman as a for monetary refund or for monetary reasons, as payment compensation. Never. The Jewish court is very protective and very respectful, and the rabbis took, it says in the Gemara, it took extra precautions that the halacha of a ma'ivriya of a Jewish mate is going to be super defined and super narrowly defined, so this event doesn't happen all the time. So how can we have a Jewish mate? How does that happen? There is one possibility, and that is when a father doesn't have money to pay his debt, they're in dire straits. So the first option or the first suggestion by the courts is go sell yourself. You don't have money to pay, go sell yourself. But what if the guy is not able to work? Is handicapped, he can't pay, possibly nobody wants to buy him, he's useless. And he has a daughter who is young, he can sell, but not the daughter. It's never selling the daughter. Selling the right for her production. Whatever she can produce for X number of years until the age of 12 and a half, no more than 12 and a half. So it's a very small period of time. I mean, people cannot work when they're 3. So it's a very short period of time where a girl can work and be productive and be worth something. Now, the reason it was set up that way is mostly for the benefit of the girl. Why? Because who's going to marry her? If the father doesn't have money to marry the daughter, doesn't have money for dowry, cannot put up the wedding, who's going to marry her? She's going to sit and never get married. So in order for her to be easier for her to get married, there is this arrangement, and the rabbis, the courts are suggesting strongly that she will be sold to someone who can marry her, or someone who has a son that can marry her. Now, she's not staying in this kind of it's not slavery, but condition for a long time. If the owner dies, she goes out. If the Yovel arrives, the Jubilee year, she goes out. If she gets to 12 and a half, she goes out. And
what if the money's not recouped?
If the money is not recouped, the money is not recouped. That's it's not. That's the thing. It's not so much for the money as much as it is for her to get married. Now it's called yi'ud. To get married for Amai Vriya, when she gets married, it's called yi'ud. Like, how do you say yi'ud? Allocated. She was to be allocated to be married. What?
Spoken.
Maybe. Now, the point is that after she gets married, she's a regular, like every other Jewish wife. Every other Jewish woman. She stopped working. She doesn't have to work. I mean, it's the husband. The husband has the rights to.
Don't tell that to my wife.
The husband has the rights. She has some rights. The husband has some rights. It's like a regular Jewish wife.
What advantage do I have if I wanted to marry her because she works for me versus I just see her and I just I know the guy doesn't have money, but I still want to marry her. So it's just a way to make it easier. You can somebody owes money, so the money that she gets for the work goes towards the debt, and then if they decide to get married, which can be right away, that money becomes the money of kiddushin. That first money that was given to the father becomes the money of kiddushin. So kiddushin is the marriage, the consideration that the husband has to give the wife in order to get married. Nowadays, it's a ring. It's a ring that's worth something. But it can be also money. According to halakha, it can be only money. What? It can be
3 pennies.
1 penny. Not too much. Come on, don't splurge. Now, the point is that Ruth came up with this request: make me your Amai Vriya, make me your Jewish mate and marry me.
Which is more than 12 and a half.
Which is, that's the problem. That's why it doesn't work here. But she mentioned what happens, let's go back to Yibum. What happens with Yibum? With Yibum, when the brother passed away, what happens with the surviving brother? How does he consummate the marriage with the wife, with the widow? They just have to have a relationship. That's it. They don't have to have a kiddushin. They just have to have a relationship, and by virtue of having a relationship, she becomes his wife.
Well, that's true.
Yes, but we have seen before, with the normal just unmarried people who are, they need to have a erusin, an engagement period before, which nowadays it's half an hour before the wedding. Before the actual chuppah. That's because people were running away. So, it's a different story. But the bottom line is that because in Yibum, all that takes is a relationship, sexual relationship, that's why people think that she went there for that purpose. Because by virtue of having that relationship, she'll become a wife. But that's not what happened. A mate, how does a mate become a wife in Yehud, an Amai Ivriya, a Jewish mate, by putting the talis over. By when the owner or the son of the owner is putting the talis over her and taking her as a wife, that's how they consummate that marriage. That's why she's saying ufarasta knafecha. That's why you should spread your wings over me. You should like a mother bird, and just take me in.
But who sold her as?
So Amai Ivriya cannot sell herself. We said so that also doesn't work. Right. Which he told her, our relationship is not as such. You're more my daughter than my mate. I can't do this because of your mate. So then she's adding kigoelata. That is the third way that she was trying to get in. What is Goel? So in Parashat Behar, there is the pasuk that says, Ki amuch achicha, if your brother is poor, umachar me'achuzato, and he is offering his real estate to be sold in order to get out of the muck. Uba goalo akarov elav v'ga'al b'michar achiv. So the relative that is closest to him, the closest relative to him, is responsible or has the first right of refusal or the first responsibility really to buy that field or that house or that part of the real estate in order to keep it in the family. And this is such, but Parashat Behar has many mitzvot, and 30 mitzvot or so, I think, if I remember correctly. But this is it's a short piece in the middle, Shlishi or Revi. It has very few psukim, but the entire parasha is sort of under that, the impression of that mitzvah, so much so that the haftarah of Parashat Behar is talking solely about this kind of situation. What does the haftarah say? The haftarah is very interesting. It's talking about the prophet Yirmiyah. The prophet Yirmiyah lived at the time of the destruction, right? He lived before the destruction as well. He was telling all the Jews what's coming, right? And just like, WikiLeaks telling them all the story, he ended up needing to, they put him under arrest, house arrest, in Chatzar HaMatara. They took him into the Ecuadorian embassy in Yerushalayim. They locked him up so he doesn't spread all of these rumors and all this news that rock the boat and will create unrest. It was crazy. It was totally crazy. If you read what happened then, and you read of some of the things that are happening today, it's like, whoa, it's the same things, just different words. So people were very upset with him. So he lived over there in Chatzar HaMatara in a court that was guarded. Now his his cousin, his name was Hanamel ben Shalom, or ben Shulam. Hanamel, his cousin, fell on bad times because it was wartime in Israel. Jerusalem was under siege, right? The whole country was about to fall. And so he fell on bad times, like many others. So he comes to Yirmiyahu and tells him, buy my land. So he said, what do you mean buy my land? It's like the Germans are here. What do you mean buy my land? Your land is, what am I going to do with your land? Yeah, what am I going to do with land? God tells him in a prophecy, buy his land. Buy his property. So he goes to a gentleman by the name of Baruch ben Neriah, or Brachiyahu ben Neriah, the two is referred to in both names. Baruch ben Neriah was his student, Yirmiyahu's student, who was about to become a prophet, but he would never become a prophet because the generation was not married to another prophet. So he did not become a prophet, but he was very close with Yirmiyahu, and he was his scribe. He was a sofer, he was a scribe. Everything that Yirmiyahu needed to write and to tell the people and to communicate, he was his man. And he continued to be his man even when he was in house arrest or whatever arrest that he was in Chatzar HaMatara. So Yirmiyahu goes to Baruch ben Neriah and tells him, write it down. Write a contract, because you have to write a contract. It stays in the family, so the family member can redeem it afterwards, right? So it can. The goal is to keep the real estate in the family. So the plots of the different tribes are not going to get all mixed up, and people will lose. And he tells him, write it down. And he told him exactly how much it's going to be worth. I mean, they agreed on a price, 7 shkalim and whatever, 10 kesef, something like that. And 7 shkalim and change he gave him. And said, write down this transaction and put it in a pottery, a ceramic jug that's meant to save all of the documents for a long time. Seal it in a jug, like we find now when we do archaeological digs. We find all kinds of papyrus and whatever, all kinds of things in jugs.
Sea scrolls.
Well, sea scroll, right? So authentic, right? So put it in a jug and hide it, for many, many days, and make sure that it can survive many, many days. So it's sealed. There is no water in there, etc. Because there will be time. Because right now we're about to lose it, and Yerushalayim is going to fall because we didn't listen to God. But there will be time that in Yerushalayim we're going to buy and sell real estate again. That houses and fields are going to exchange hands, and there will be what to sell, and there will be who to buy. There will be a society. There will be commerce. It's all going to come back. So I want this contract to survive. So seal it. So now, just as an aside, this Baruch ben Neriah is very interesting. Is one of the only biblical characters, individuals, who we have evidence that he actually lived. In 1979, we found in digs in Yerushalayim, we found his bula, his seal, and it says Brachiyahu ben Neriah, and that's one of the only ones that mentioned. You have David, some things of David HaMelech. So that was not in the city of David. That was not far from the city of David. But we found his seal, and that's one of the only ones that sort of matched reality. Now, in the city of David, we found recently another one of those seals by Remaliahu ben Neriah, which very well may be his brother, because Neriah was not a common name, and if you have Brachiyahu ben and Remaliahu ben, and that's the area where they lived,
So it's very possible. We just found it, not I think a couple of years. Remaliah ben. So it's just very interesting that he's an individual that mentioned several times, and then he's sort of gone, but surfaced again 3,000 years later, to 2,500 years later, surfaced again in archaeological digs. Anyway, but what we see is that this halacha of geulat karkaot, of redeeming one's property, was very, very strong for hundreds of years. The story of Yirmiyahu is about 400 years after our story. You know, it's towards the end of the first temple, maybe 700 years after. It's a long time, hundreds of years after. Now, the Ruth and Naomi came back with no money. But they had real estate. They had the real estate of Elimelech. Elimelech left his real estate to Boaz, and Boaz was taking care of it, and so he was basically will need eventually to redeem it, and he's the obvious choice because he was working that field all along while Elimelech and Naomi and the two Tachshitim went out of the country. So, and in those days, and that's what Ruth wanted to do. In those days, the custom was that he who redeems the property also, in order to be nice, in order to continue the chain, also will redeem the actual wife. So if somebody died, and there is nobody who, there is no mefarnes, how do you say, supporter, there is no breadwinner in the house, and they have to sell the real estate, they also go along with it. Whoever buys the real estate, don't just give them, whatever the value of the real estate and leave them. They also marry them, the widow. And so that was the whole idea that she had in mind. Please marry me. If not as a Yibum, as an Ama Ivriya, if not as an Ama Ivriya, as Geula. Just now. So that's what happened over there. Now, the obvious question which you asked last time is, what kind of a way to do shidduch is that? To send her in the middle of the night to a barn, pitch dark barn, sleep, next to his legs and next to his feet, and hopefully some. What is that? That's crazy. You can sign a letter, write a letter, pick up the phone and say, how about you, my daughter-in-law? There are other ways of making shidduchim other than sneaking in the barn in the middle of the night, right? So what happened there? What was me thinking? Why was she doing that? So there are really a three-part answer. Number one, Naomi was a pious person. She had, people say she had Ruach HaKodesh. She knew what's about to happen. And she knew that Boaz, who is the leader of the Jews, is fitting to produce someone down the road that will take over. Now she saw that Boaz lost 30 boys and 30 girls, right? Remember we mentioned that he lost a lot of. He didn't have kids anymore. They died right after the marriage because he didn't invite people, whatever. So she knew that there is at least one more child in him that will come out somehow. And she, when I'm saying she, is Naomi. Naomi wanted Ruth to be the one to bear his child. That's number one. Number two, there is the whole idea of Ayin Hara. So she wanted to make this happen, and how you can make it happen the traditional way, or you can make it happen at night when nobody sees in a sort of half sneaky way. There is the whole idea of Ayin Hara. You know what Ayin Hara is? Bad eye. Evil eye. Okay? What is the evil eye? The evil eye is when someone else think badly about the person that causes harm to the person. that's one of the reasons why we all are instructed to act modestly, you know. Don't buy the shiniest red car, you know, that costs $1 million, you know, and has gold wheel. You know, don't have the biggest house in the neighborhood. So, you know, well, Bentley, right?
No, Bentley. When the baby's born, the white Bentley, you know?
Oh.
Glove compartment.
That's the same thing.
So it's we're trying. So there is legitimate reason not to be a target of Ayin Hara, not to be a. Now, it's interesting that Moshe Feinstein was saying that it's only applicable in things that are common. Things that are not common, you don't have to worry about Ayin Hara. If someone is jealous of some crazy thing, you don't have to worry about it. There are things that people are jealous of on a regular basis. You know, they want your car, your job, your whatever, your house. But you know, your golf club, you know, it's not common, so you can have a good golf club, whatever. You know. Now, the trumpet, a good trumpet. Now, the point is that she was trying to avoid people seeing or people knowing that this is about to happen, because she did not want the Satan to really be a prosecutor, to give the evil eye to this whole thing. Naomi wanted to avoid Ayin Hara. She wanted to avoid the evil eye. What?
Also gossip.
Gossip, exactly. She wanted all of that, all of those, you know, don't talk about me because it's not good. You know, that's basically the mantra, the idea. So she was trying to do it in the most confidential way, and what's more confidential than going and doing it yourself alone in the middle of the night when nobody sees? So that's, and finally, there are those who say that because she had Ruach HaKodesh, she was given instructions on how to, the idea fell into her head of how to do it from God. Not that she knew that God is talking to her. But the idea came from, you know, when you sometimes walk down the street and something fell in your head, unprovoked. You know, it's something that was planted in your head by some, you know.
Plus, it's very intricate details to begin with.
Yes. Yeah, it's not commonly known. Anyway, so that is what she was trying to do. So she ended up there with asking him to please marry me. So what does he answer? Vayomer brucha at LaHashem biti. You should be blessed to God, my daughter. By saying my daughter, he basically told her, listen, you're not my mate. You can't be my mate. You can't be my yibum. This is not going to work this way. It's only going to work with the third idea of redeeming you because I'm a relative. And he was continuing to tell her, Hetav chasdecha acharon, your last chesed or act of chesed, act of charity was more significant than the first one. What was the last one? Then we'll see what was the first one. The last one, libilti lechet achya bachurim im dali mashir, that you wouldn't go after young men, whether they're poor or rich. You didn't go after them because it is, and all the commentaries are saying, it's common that women like to marry younger, you know, rather than go to the old folk, you know. And she had the opportunity. She was 40, he was 80. She definitely could have found something better than 80. She was beautiful, and you know what?
The younger ones didn't have money.
So that's what he's saying. You didn't go. In general, what the commentaries are saying that the nature is to look for youth rather than for money. And she didn't go not for rich, not for poor. Not, you know, she had the opportunity both ways, and she did not do it. And she was, and she chose to go with him. Now, what is the first chesed? What is the first act of charity? So there are several opinions, and when there are several opinions that are that in the same word, it's usually they're all true. So what was the first one? The first charity was the fact that she converted. She converted not with any prize at the end, not with any husband at the end waiting for her. She converted not knowing who Boaz is altogether. And she just wanted to join the Jewish people. That's number one. What? Before she even met him, yeah.
Without an ulterior motive.
Exactly. A second explanation is that she was really acting very nice to her mother-in-law in a special way.
Well, the mother-in-law gave her a sense of security, too.
Her mother-in-law did not have any security.
No, but I'm saying...
A sense of belonging.
They had a very strong relationship, but she was also very old and needed to be taken care of. And, typically... She left the royal palace, and typically the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law are not the best, typically, And here they became like mother and daughter, And the last one is that they were very nice to the sons. They were good wives to the sons. Now, I will finish with one very interesting thing here, and that's connected to our parsha, very, very much.
I shoot an arrow, right? I shoot them straight.
What was the story? In the parsha, we have the story of Lot, right? Lot is the nephew of Avraham. They came from Aram together. Iraq, ISIS land. They came to the land of Israel, and they lived together. Now, Lot was a rotten child. Was not a moral person. He was an immoral human being, and he had two main problems. One problem that he had, he liked money. He liked somebody else's money, and he would send his flock to graze in other people's fields, and that really irks Avraham in a great deal, because the footsteps leads to Avraham's tent, to the area under Avraham's jurisdiction. Those animals stole from me, so he didn't like the way Lot was behaving, and he didn't want to be associated with it. So they decided to separate. And Abraham told him, if you want to go here, I'll go on the other side. If you go to the other side, I'll go this, right or left, you choose. So he could have chosen anywhere, but he chose the worst place in the area, the place with least morality, with most promiscuity, with the people that are acting in the most disgusting way sexually. And that's what his cup of tea was. That's what he liked. So he went there. Then when God destroyed, so he went to Sodom, right? He lived in Sodom, and when God destroyed Sodom, he ran away. He ran away with his two daughters and his wife, because the son-in-laws laughed at him. They didn't join. So the son-in-laws died in Sodom, and he and Lot and two daughters and a wife ran away. The wife in the middle turned around and looks at it and dies on the spot, becomes salt, whatever. So now he is alone, thinking that he is alone in the world with two daughters. And, he remembered the story about Noah, that you need to, keep the humanity. So he's having relationship with both of his daughters in order to have children. So the human race is not going to be extinct.
Well, they had the relationship with them.
They both have the relationship. So I think
the first daughter he didn't know, but then the second one he was equally guilty.
He was, yeah. The bottom line is that from the second daughter came Moab, right? Which is where Ruth is coming from. Now this is what I found fascinating. What happened? Why are we saying that the Moabites men are not allowed to convert, and the Moabite women are allowed to convert?
Because this flaw in the DNA of the Moabites that started with Lot through a crazy relationship with his daughters, that part of the DNA traveled only to the men of Moab, to the Moabite men. The women did not get this bug. The women did not want somebody else's money, and the women did not want to have a crazy sexual relationship with anybody. They just were nicer people. That DNA flaw went as a strain in the male. And that's why the male, we said we don't want, God is commanding us not to allow them to convert. But if the Moabite women want to convert, that's okay, because they did not have this defect within them.
Weren't they the ones who seduced Zimri and the other Israelites? It was the women.
The women were sent by their husband, by their fathers. But they didn't have a built-in DNA flaw in them. Whether they did, people who might have done bad things, but it's a temporary, it's not a flaw in the DNA. The bottom line is that this is what he's answering her basically. Listen, you're good people, you don't have the problem. You came here, you didn't want just to have fun with some young guys. You're very decent, you were very decent all along, we'll continue later with the actual plan.